So in this video, we're going to talk about the app FBAScan. I'm going to give you guys a quick tutorial on it, maybe a little bit of a deeper dive, as well as a bonus at the end. Let's get started. Hey guys, this is Lenny from Simon Says Resell, where I go ahead and share my experiences selling on Amazon, both FBA and merchant fulfillment. Whether you're a new seller or an old seller, I think these videos will help you out in some way, shape, or form, so definitely check them out. So yeah, today we're going to go ahead and talk about a particular app that I use called FBAScan. Now there are other apps out there that you can use to scan different items like books and toys and things like that, but in particular FBAScan I personally use because there has a few bells and whistles that the others don't, and I also seem to think it has a little bit more of an accurate reading and results than the others. And that's just my personal opinion. The other apps you can definitely check out are Profit Bandit, the Amazon Seller app, of course, and Scoutify that's included with the Inventory Labs account, which I actually use Inventory Labs for my accounting reasons, and I'll get into that in another video. But today is primarily about the FBAScan app. I'm going to kind of give you a quick introduction to it. I'm also going to give you a little bit of a deep dive to show you some of the tools and features you can use. And even at the very end, I'm going to give you a little bit of bonus on how I set up my triggers. Now, triggers basically, you set up rules in the app to, when those rules are matched, it then does something in the app. Maybe it says, okay, buy this book, or maybe reject this book. So definitely a cool few features in there. Now, one thing to note, and I'll say it now and I'll probably say it later, is the triggers themselves that I show you later aren't perfect. Okay, they're not 100%. It may miss some books that you are maybe interested in, or may get books that you're not interested in. So keep that in mind. But I use it myself. I have other scouters that I give it to, so it definitely worked for me. But it's not 100%, but it does speed things up a bit. Now, I talked to other scouters, big scouters, big sellers, resellers, and they don't use the triggers, and some do, so it's kind of a mixture. But I do mostly, but I mainly give them to my scouters so they can go ahead and scan the books particularly very quickly. So that's what I'm going to get into today, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started. Okay, just go ahead and download the app when you can. I just did on my iPhone. Just search for FBAScan in the App Store if you're on iPhone, or search for FBAScan in the Play Store if you're on Android. So I'll go ahead and open it up. The app is actually made by a company called AsellerTool. You can go to asellertool.com to find more information about the app and the different subscriptions they have for the app, and a little bit more on that later. When you first log in, you'll get a little notification here. Is the FBAScan app is able to jump into and log into your Amazon seller account to notify you if there's any restrictions on any items that you're scanning. Since I mainly do books, I don't really bother with this, but for those that are doing toys and other non-books types of items, I would go ahead and maybe log into this when you can. So if you hit OK, it'll log me into my ASeller or my Amazon seller account, and that's it. And then you don't have to worry about it anymore. It'll just kind of keep it there. And if you do scan any restricted products, it will come up and tell you, so that's kind of neat. So I'm going to close it for now because I don't really need it to show you. So when you first jump in, you'll kind of see a little UI like this. I'm going to take you through some of the basic steps, and then we'll start scanning a few books, and then I'll give you a little bit more of a bonus item here to show you kind of the triggers that you can set up here. So when you first log in, depending on what subscription you have, there's different types. There's the light subscription, which really gives you unlimited live mode scans. So if you notice on the top left, it says LV. That means live mode or live. What that uses, it uses my Wi-Fi and or data connection to go ahead and pull down information from the internet based on the scan of the book that I just scanned. So it basically uses your data connection. There are other cool features on this app, and that's one thing that makes it very neat in particular is the database mode. So if you're in a poor signal area, maybe you're in a library or in a basement somewhere, a library sale, and your signal is just terrible, you can switch to database mode. And what that does, it downloads a database to your phone. So when you scan a book or scan an item, it'll come up very quickly in the results, probably as fast as you can blink. It's very, very quick. The only caveat to that is you have to remember to update the catalog to your phone before you go out, over Wi-Fi, for example, because the file can probably take 15 to 20 minutes, and I think it's maybe around 1 gig or so, but I'm not 100% sure how big it is, and maybe more than that. But you definitely don't want to do this over your data connection, like on your cell phone service. You want to do it at home on Wi-Fi or any Wi-Fi that has decent connection to download the database first, because you want to make sure you update it before you go to the book sale or whatever sale you're going to. So some people forget to do that, which obviously can cause an issue, but just keep that in mind. Another thing is the Lite plan under the Aceller Tool App subscription doesn't include the database, so you have to pay a little bit more for that, and we'll get into that later. But so what you can do here is, if I click on the top left, those 3 bars in the top left, it'll give me more of like a kind of menu type page. You'll see there's download, test data, blah, or data test, blah blah blah. So if I go to download, this is where I would go if I wanted to download the catalog. Now I have the account to do this, but I'm not going to show it to you because it'll take a little bit of time. But if I did have the subscription to download the database, I would go ahead and just click start, and it'll check my credentials and log in, and within about 10, 15, 20 minutes it'll be up to date. So then I can switch this to database mode and just start scanning like crazy, and it won't use my data signal at all. It'll come back very quickly with results. Now one thing to note too is with the database mode, it doesn't show you all the data. Like, it won't show the pictures, it won't show all the data. Like, sometimes the weight is a little off, sometimes the sales rank isn't as up to date as you would hope it would be, because that's one thing I first did when I first started, is I tested the database mode compared to the live mode, and there was a bit of a difference. But when you think about it, if you update the catalog before you go out, and then you go out and do your thing, the sales rank and other stuff won't be that far off. It won't be exact, obviously, but it won't be that far off, so you kind of get by. So it's not terrible. I will show you database mode later, though, because I think I have an older data. You'll see my database was last updated on December 31st, so it was quite some time. But because I don't really use it as much as I probably do, because I actually have my scouters go out and do this for me. So I don't really go out that much that I need the database mode. I usually do live mode myself, because where I am, the signal's pretty good. So if I back up, let's go to data test. We'll just show you some test data. This is kind of what it looks like in database mode. As you can see, there's no picture. It kind of cuts off the title. It gives you sales rank, profit, a couple other things, the pound. It kind of averages around 2 pounds. I actually did notify the developers for this to let them know that I think on average it just does everything to 2 pounds, which is good and bad. So let's go back to the menu. Operating modes. This is pretty neat. So the very first one's database mode, as you can see. So if I click on that and then I scan a book, and to scan a book, on the top right there's a little barcode with a line through it. That's to scan a book. So let me pull up my book here. As you can see, I got my book. It scans it. Boom, already done. So my database is old. That's kind of cool to show you guys. So when your database is old, it actually tells you. But here you go. So it scanned that within database mode. It came up pretty quick, minus the little error message that came up. But there you go. It's 2 pounds again for weight, which is in the top, or the middle right, the little scale on it. The little buy box is in the middle. There's no buy box information. There's no list retail price on the left there. Again, this is mainly for really quick searches. You know, if you're in a library sale and you're just scan, this is a great option to have. But let me do a different book here. I'm going to change it back to live mode. Let me put this other book down. Here's live mode. This again uses my Wi-Fi data connection. So not terrible. It was pretty quick. I mean, I guess I have an unfair advantage. My Wi-Fi is pretty quick. AT&T fiber. We got 960 megs down, so I'm pretty quick there. So not a good test to do on a data signal. I could shut off my Wi-Fi, but you guys kind of get the idea. It'll probably take maybe a second or two, which isn't terrible. So this is what live mode shows. Live mode shows the picture, shows the title, shows pretty much everything it possibly can. But I want to switch back to database mode again really quick to show you guys something. Let me scan that original book I scanned. There you go. Came back pretty quickly already because it already remembered. When you're in database mode and you want to check everything, so kind of refresh and show you all the picture and everything, if you look at my little magnifying glass in the top right next to the text area, it'll actually grab the data. So there you go. So there's a picture of it now. I got more information. The A in the middle, that's Amazon's price. So this is not a bad book, as you can see. But let me continue with the menu. I just wanted to show you a little bit more as I go down. The lock screen just locks the screen. I'm going to skip that. The buy items list, I'm going to skip that. If I go to settings, this is pretty cool. I mean, you guys can go through these yourselves, but these are obviously, some of these are very self-explanatory, so you can figure out, disable sound. I think you know what that means. But one thing I did want to show you here is, we'll get into the triggers later. And, you can show the item condition. You can show disable rank color. You can change the color for different ranking and stuff like that. But one thing I want to show you here is the hidden mode feature. So if I jump back to my main screen here, notice how I have all the information on the bottom as far as the different offers and how much they are and the different conditions. And notice in red there's a profit. Obviously the setting I'm set as I'm under, I'm not making any money on this, and I'll explain that in a second. But let me show you what I do for some of my scanners. So if I were to give this to one of my scanners, I don't want them to see the profit. I don't want them to see all the offers, because they'll start asking more questions than they need to. So the great thing about this app is, especially if you're giving it to someone else to help you scan, see that hidden mode option there in the middle? If I click on hidden mode and then jump back to the main screen, look what it did. It just cut off everything there, and that's what I want. So what I would do is I would go to my scanners and I would set it up myself for them, my scouters. I would set it up for my scouters and I would give them this, and they would not see that information. So the only thing they're concerned with is the very top, a buy. That's all they need to know. And if it's a book that isn't a buy, it'll say reject. You actually can change that as well. But I just wanted to show you that quick little hidden feature option, and I'll go into that later on too. But going down the list here, enable triggers, color, and these are just more cosmetic and fun things to do. But let me jump back here. Account, if I clicked on that, I don't want to, because it'll show you my username and password. So that's where you go and enter in your username and password, because in order to kind of use the live scans and the database mode, you have to sign up some sort of account with acellertool.com. So I think it's almost $10 a month for the light version, which means unlimited live scans, which is kind of probably where you want to start off at first. And then once you kind of get more comfortable, or maybe you find yourself in places where there isn't internet connection or that great of internet connection, you can jump into database mode. And I think the plan that I use is $40 a month, and that gives you database mode plus unlimited live. So you get both. Now there is one in the middle of that. I think it's like 20-30 bucks. I'll have to look at it again. I think that's database mode plus partial live updates. You don't get unlimited scans. So there's a bit of a difference there. And the rest of the stuff I'm not going to go through too much. It's pretty self-explanatory here. But I will jump into the triggers soon. So let me go back here. Let me kind of give you like a general run through as far as what these options are in this app. So the top left, we know how to get to the menu. DB means I'm in database mode still. In the text area, one thing I do like about this app, and you guys might find it very helpful too, it's a silly little benefit, but I think it really helps when I need to type in numbers and type in books, ISBN numbers. I'm going to click on the text box up top. Look how big that keypad is. Like, that is awesome. Like other apps just show you the general, this one here, or this one here. Now how I got there, I'll show you in a second. Let me do this. So I clicked on the ABC on the left there, and that brought me to like the normal keyboard. But I just love this because it's so big. The keyboards are so big, and it's the keys are so big, and it's just easier to type. So that was one huge plus that I liked about it. I don't find myself typing in too many ISBNs, but I do. When I do, I don't have to suffer through it and have to deal with the little tiny numbers. You obviously can enter in the numbers, the ISBN, 978 and that whole deal. If you need to type in an actual book, you can just switch there. The book itself, you can kind of type it out there. So you get a full keyboard up there if you want to search. Now that's if your scanner isn't working, or your scanner you don't have a barcode to scan, for example. So let me jump back to, let me take this out. Alright, so I'm back here. So across the top, you know what mode you're in. You got the text box. The little magnifying glass just helps you kind of give a little kick to search for you. The button on the top right is the barcode scanner. You see on the bottom right here, you got a light. You can also use if you need it. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. You have a little banner across the top that says buy. So I have triggers set up, and what a trigger basically is there's triggers within this app that you can set up, almost like rules or conditions, saying if something meets this or all of them meet these rules, then do something with it, or do something like take an action. For example, buy. So if I scan this book, which I did, it's telling me it's a buy. Now you might notice, well, why is it a buy? And I'm not making any money. You can see the profit is a negative $2. Well, the reason for that is two reasons. One is there is a way to set how much I pay for the book, and two, you'll notice how the $4.66 is highlighted. That's kind of what that profit box is looking at as well. So I can tap anywhere on here. So if I tap on the bottom right here to 73.01, look at my profit jump. Now I'm not going to sell this book for $73 in a sense. Now I'm just kind of showing you what the behavior is for this app. So I can start poking around here and you'll see the profit jumps. So that was one reason why it's there. So if I click on the profit button, the red box profit, this gives you a nice little breakdown, FBA kind of fees and stuff like that. So if I were to list this item at $4.66, I wouldn't make any money based on the cost of purchase below and the cost per pound for shipping to Amazon. So I put 65 cents. That's not my real value. It's probably like 35 cents, but I usually put 65 just kind of a buffer. The cost of the book, let's say it was $2.50, which may seem kind of high, but hey, that's how much, let's say, I bought the book for. So then I'm negative $2. But let's say I wanted to list the book on Amazon, for $19. And then my profit goes up to 11, and now that would be it. So that's kind of why it shows it red, because there's two things going on. One is how much you put for how much you pay for the book, and also what setting or what offer you're actually on. So just keep that in mind, because it's a little confusing at first, like why is it saying buy and whatever. So that's that. On the very top you have obviously the book image, which is important to make sure it matches up. You have the title, you have the category, which is book, and then you have the $116. That's the list price, the retail price of the book. Then you have the A, that's the Amazon price. So Amazon themselves is selling this book brand new for $116. Then you have the weight, which is 0.85 pounds. So not bad. Sales rank, obviously sales rank is important. That box isn't clickable, but you don't really need it to be because it's the sales rank, it's fine. There is an option to add another feature to this to say sales rank and average sales rank, which is kind of nice to have. I just have mine on sales rank for now. Then you have these three columns. So these three columns are very important, and this is kind of where you guys need to listen up more, especially if you're an FBA seller versus a merchant and a seller. If you're FBA, if you're selling FBA, you really don't need to concentrate a whole lot on the right two columns, because those right two columns are, you know what they are? Those are merchant columns. So if you're selling via merchant or merchant fulfillment, that's kind of what you want to focus on. So since I'm selling FBA, or if you're selling FBA, when you look at apps like this, you really don't have to concentrate too much on there, but it does give you a general idea on kind of where things are on the other side of the fence. So I can't say ignore them 100%, but maybe consider them maybe 10% of the time. Just kind of see where those things are. So when I come here, I don't really focus too much on that. I really look at the FBA side, which is the left column. Now, depending on what app you're using, maybe you're using Profit Bandit or Scoutify, the columns may be in different orders. So FBA may be on the right, for example, and then merchant stuff will be on the left. So, but this app in particular, everything, the FBA is on the left. So what else can you do here? So the column name itself, so it says 6 FBA, 35 used, 27 new. 6 FBA means there's 6 other offers for FBA, new, used, both combined, and collectibles. The cool thing about this app, obviously you can see the different offers. There's a buy box for $4.66. then $4.98 good, $9 good, $24.98 very good, and then $116 brand new. If I clicked on the 6 FBA column, as you notice, there aren't 6 listed there. There's only 5. But if I click on the 6 FBA column, it brings up like an Amazon type of page to show you all the listings. So there should be about 6 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 6 here. So there's a good, there's 2 very goods, and there's a new. And if you click on any one of those, it'll give you a little bit of a description. So there's the actual listing on Amazon. You know, used condition, book may have signs of coverware, blah 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 blah. So I'm going to close that, but you kind of get the idea. If you click on the column, you get most of the listings there that you can help make a decision. Now the one little thing that I do, just kind of a little tip that I guess I can give you guys, when I'm scanning through there, even if there's 6 or 60 listings here, as I scroll down this first page, because if there's more than like 15, it'll give me like another page, like a next page type option. If I scroll down to the first page of this listing here, or this kind of like menu, and I'm not at or above $10 or so for the listing price, other offers, then I may or may not buy the book, because that kind of gives me an idea on the different ranges these are starting at. So for example, if I am on this first page and I'm just seeing $4, $4, $4, $5, $6, and it stops around $6, I may or may not consider the book. But obviously, the third one down, I'm almost at 10. I'm at $9 already, so that's kind of cool. But another thing to notice here is the next column, 35 used. I can do the same thing if I was a merchant. I can click on 35 used. You can see, you can go down, and there's a next button there. You can go next and kind of keep going. There's 27 new for merchant. You know, these are pretty new as well, and you know, there's a bunch of them too. So that kind of gives you, that's pretty much it for the some of the main features of this app. It kind of gives you a breakdown of the different merchant fulfillments or the different fulfillment methods you're doing. You can adjust the profit. You can adjust the cost that it cost you for the book. But towards the bottom here, you'll notice there's a little camel, there's a number of books on a shelf, it looks like, and a bunch of other things. These are other extra tools, and this is one thing that makes these third-party apps much better than the Amazon seller app, is not only the way it kind of shows the information kind of all on one page, but it has these extra tools you can kind of pivot off of, or pivot to kind of give you more of an idea. So for example, little camel on there on the left. I'll do a video on this later, but this is for the site called Camel. You click on it, which I just did. It opens up the Camel site, as you can see, and it kind of shows you a breakdown of not only the price history. You'll see on the middle there, there's price history tab, and then the sales rank tab. Now, yes, up top it has the book there. It says it's sold $116, which is great, or it's selling for $116. But the sales rank tab that I'm on is probably the bread and butter of Camel, because this shows you the history of how often it's sold, which is awesome, based on the sales rank. So you'll notice on the top, on the very far right, see if I can zoom in there. On the right there, you'll see my date range is all. What I do is I go ahead and choose 1 month. Let me back up a little bit. So here, how do you read this graph? Well, the graph is interesting. So most of us that are obviously have been in school and used to math, is the 0 starts at the bottom and it climbs up the farther up you go. Well, in this graph, it's the opposite. The 0 is at the top, and the further down you go, the higher the number is. So that's the first thing that confuses people, is how do you read these camel graphs? To make it a little easier, let me jump to the 3-month graph, and then maybe the 6-month. Okay, that's a little better. Look on the left column there, or left side. See at the very top it's 0, and then as it goes down it gets higher. That's the sales rank. So obviously the lower the sales rank, the better. And you'll notice here what these little spikes and these little curves and these steps mean. So the general way to read the sales rank graphs is the closer it is to the top, the better, as far as the little plateaus that it has, I guess you can call them spikes. So in August 12th, there was a little spike there, little plateau, and then it dropped, and then it went over to the right. So basically, anytime you see it go up, that is a sale. So look on October 7th. it went up there, and then it went up again, and then it went down. And then around October 26th or so, it went up, and then it went down and down twice. So as you can see, every time it goes up, that is a sale. So what does this mean? How do you read this? So this tells me within 6 months, there are, let's see, I'm just counting basically the spikes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So maybe 9, maybe 8 to 10 sales in the last 6 months, which isn't terrible based on my business model. So if I jump to 1 year, you'll see the graph changes a little bit. So this may be a little bit easier to read. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So maybe 14 to 16 or so a year. So when you come to graphs like this, you want to ask yourself, how many times has this book sold in the last 1 month, or 3 months, or 6 months? And that kind of gives you an idea on how soon it would sell. So keep that in mind. I'll jump back to the FBAScan app. So this has a sales rank of 1.5 million. So what do we say? In 6 months it sells 8 to 10. So maybe it sells once or twice a month, which isn't terrible. And there's only 6 other FBA offers, so I'm only competing with 6 other FBA people. So that's not bad at all. So this book might sell in a month or 2 or 3 or whatever, depending on how I price it. And you may ask me, hey Lenny, where would you price this book at? Well, the book itself is probably in very new condition. You can't see that right here, but I have it next to me. I'd probably hover around, if I wanted a quick sale, probably around the same price as that $24.98 offer that's there for FBA. So I think we have a $24.98. We have two $24.98s. So I may kind of compete or kind of stick around these $24.98s. I may do it for $21.99 or $29.99. It really depends on how fast I want to sell it. If I did it for $29.99, these will probably sell quicker, which is okay, because I guess it depends on your business model too. Remember, in my other video I said the lower you sell it for, as far as price wise, and if you're the lower seller, you may wind up selling it pretty quickly. If you match them, you may kind of be like a tie around when they sell it, or if you kind of price over them, you may not get the sale right away, but you'll probably make more money, more profit, because you're selling it for a little bit more money than them, but it may take some time. So that's a quick little tip there. The other apps you have on the bottom here, the next one over from Camel is bookscouter.com. This is a great app because it's also a website, but if you guys ever have a book that you want to sell like very quickly, you just type in the ISBN and it pulls all these other book buyers, like legitimate buyers like textbook.com, Amazon's on here. These are people that may buy the book right now. So you don't have to wait. If you have a book and you want to see how much they'll pay you for, just jump on this site. I've done business with Blue Rocket Books, Textbook Recycling. There were a couple books that I was able to get some good money with, and they usually pay you via PayPal or check. I've sent many books to some of these places earlier on. I don't do it too much because the books that I'm getting now aren't as good as far as these guys would want them. But when I was first starting out, I was buying books on eBay, an auction, and selling them on these guys' sites. So it was pretty cool. The next one over is Keepa. Keepa is more like a price trending tool. It's similar to Camel, but it mainly deals with pricing. As you can see, it breaks it down to Amazon, new and used pricing. You can click on the statistics button on the bottom here. Gives you more of an idea, a breakdown of how much this book sold for and when. So some good stuff to keep in mind as far as research goes. And the other buttons here, which I'm not going to go into, there's an Amazon button. It brings you right to the Amazon listing. There's an eBay button, so stuff like that. But I don't personally really use those. What I use it for mainly is to see what the competition is, see how many other offers there are, and to kind of make a general idea of, or a general decision on if I'm going to buy the book or not. So that's a general overview of FBAScan. Let me jump into a little bonus that I was going to show you of my triggers. So the triggers I have here, I clicked on the little menu button on the top left. If I go to basic trigger, it gives you a breakdown of what category you'll be doing this on. So I'm going to go to book. Now, there's two different types of triggers. There's basic triggers and advanced triggers. The basic triggers are kind of ready to go out of the box if you want to add them in there. I think they're even on. You'll notice there's a bunch of different triggers when you first start off. You can turn them off if you want. The triggers are just going to trigger the little banner on top that shows buy or reject. Basic triggers are good. It kind of gives you an idea, like if the book price is $4 and the sales rank is whatever, it'll tell you if it's something you should buy or not, or consider maybe. As you can see, if I go under use, there's different types of options as far as what type of book it is or what type of sell it is. Second use price, third use price. That's the order within the listings that when you scan the book, you notice on the FBA column, for example, or the merchant column, there's different prices listed. So all this means, here I'll show you. So all this means is, this is the second use, this is the third use, this is the second new, this is the third new, and so on and so forth. So you have the ability to pull out information based on the results. So that's all that means. There's different ones. There's a bunch for merchant and a bunch for FBA. So you can play with those. Also, triggers. So I was playing with one. My minimum price was $2 and my max rank was 2 million. So this is a basic trigger. When you guys first get the app, you're not going to get the triggers that look just like this at all. You're going to get ones that probably have about eight listed there, which come by default. And when you guys first start with this app and you start scanning, when you see the buy or reject on top, that's kind of what it's basing off of. It's basing off this basic trigger that is, by default, is okay. There's nothing wrong with this trigger, but it all depends on your business model. It all depends on what kind of books you're looking for. Maybe it's saying to buy a book when you don't really want to, or vice versa. So what I've done is I went to the advanced triggers and into books, and this is what my advanced triggers look like, and you guys can just take a screenshot of this if you want. What this means is if the price, let me jump on the first one, it'd be easier to show you. So the minimum offer price is $12.24, max rank is 2 million, and the offer to use is the second FBA offer. So what this means is, if I jump back to my main page here, if my second FBA offer is $12 or 24 cents more than that, go ahead and mark it as a buy, and if the sales rank is under 2 million. So as you can see in my FBA column, it's not $12.24 or over on the second item. So just to give you an idea how that works, is the trigger is going to ignore that first one. So what this is doing, it's hitting kind of 3 rules. If any one of these rules is matched, it'll say buy. If none of them are matched, it'll be reject. So the first one I explained to you, it's not going to match it because the second FBA price is not $12.24 or higher. It's $4 and something cents. So that one's going to get ignored. The second one is minimum offer price $2, max rank 2 million, second used. So let's see what the minimum is there. So if I jump here, second used, so that's here. And that's not a match because that's a penny book basically. So let me jump back. So that wasn't it. Advanced triggers. Let's go to the third one. Minimum offer price is $5.99, max is 2 million rank, and the second new. So $5.99 is the minimum offer. Now you probably already know what the answer is. So that's my second new. That is definitely above $5.99. Now you might ask, why did I do this? Why did I make it this way? So a couple of things to note about these triggers, whether they're basic or advanced. And most of these apps are like this, not just FBAScan. Profit Bandit does it the same way. How it's pulling this information into the app from Amazon is through an API. And these third-party tools aren't able to pull everything, all the information possible. So that's why if you jump on Amazon.com, you may see more than 6 listings listed here for the FBA for this particular book, because these apps are only able to pull about the first 20 items or the first 20 offers from a given listing at certain times. So you're not going to find, it's not 100%. That's what I was telling you guys before, but this is fairly accurate the way I did this, because what it does, it kind of works down the line. It starts with FBA, which is what I'm focusing on, and if there's no FBA match, it looks at the used merchant match. If there's no merchant match, it looks at the new merchant match. And if there is a merchant match, then it triggers a buy. So I have these triggers set up for my scouters. And not only do I have it set up this way, I have it to hide all this information like I showed you guys before. So all they need to do when they go out to look at books is they scan. And they look for that buy or reject on top. And once they do that, if it's a buy, they'll pull the book out and they'll visually inspect it more to see if it's something they want to buy. So that's how my triggers work. And I'll jump back there and just explain it one more time for you. Now again, this may work for some of you, it may not work for most of you, but this is kind of how I've done it. It's worked out pretty well for me. So again, the first one is second FBA. It looks for any FBA books, any offers that are over $12.24, under $2 million. If it doesn't match that, it looks at the second used merchant listing. If there's any over $2, under $2 million, it matches that. If not, it goes to the second new merchant. If there's any over $5.99, under $2 million, it'll match it or not. And if nothing matches, it goes to reject and they move on. That's my little bonus I wanted to show you guys. I hope that kind of helps and explains things. It is a little confusing at first, and I do apologize about that, but it just takes time. The one thing I gotta say with these apps is just go out and start scanning. That's the best thing to really do, in my opinion. Let me scan some more books. Let me scan another book here. Let me put this one down. I'm in database mode, so let's see how quickly it gets this. Scanned it. Done. So it says this is a reject, which is interesting. Let's do one thing here. Now, there might be a problem with this. What's the problem? Well, I'm using database mode. My database hasn't been updated since before the new year, like December 31st. And it's saying it's a 3.3 million rank and stuff like that. So what happens if I do this? So if you guys remember, what do you do to find like the newest, latest version if you're in database mode? You click on the little magnifying glass on the top. So let me click on that. Let's see if that changes anything. Ah, look at that. That thing changed dramatically. Sales rank is below that 3.3 million, probably because it's sold since then, maybe a couple times. Profit is up pretty high. Let's take a look at the profit. 45.24. Let me just go to Amazon. There you go. There's Amazon fulfilled. So that's not too bad. But look where my I guess I don't know what you would call it, the selected listing, I guess you can call it. It's 45.24. That's not where I want to be. I'm gonna click on the FBA just for fun. So the buy box is $13.25. Let me go to the 4 FBA offers to see what other offers are there. So we have 4 different sellers selling it for this similar price between $13.25 and $13.95. So if I was them, I would probably do it right around them. I'm not going to be one of those guys that tries to sell it for $19 or tries to sell it for $9.99. I'll play the game with them. I'll probably do it for like $13.30 or $13.29, whatever it may be. So that's pretty cool there. And do you know what trigger it triggered at? You don't really know unless you know what the triggers are. So it looks like it triggered on the FBA because the second FBA was set for $12.24 and the second FBA here is around $13.25. So one thing to notice here, and don't get too confused about it, it's just part of the app and how the API is used. You see it says 4 FBA, but you only see 3 listings. Don't worry about that. Just click on the 4 FBA and you'll see your 4 FBA here. That's just the limitation of the FBI and the apps that are used. So that was that book. That was pretty cool. Let me show you what it looks like. Let me switch to live mode. So settings, no, wrong one. Operating mode, live mode. So now I'm in live mode. And let me do this. Let me show you what it looks like in the hidden mode for those that want to give this to other people to do. So that's live mode. Or sorry, that's the hidden mode. Let me put this book down. Alright. I got one more, maybe 2 more books to show you guys. So here's another book. Doing live mode. Boom, it got it. Takes a second. And there you go. So you might say, well, where's all the information? Well, remember, we're in hidden mode. This is what I usually give to my scouters so they don't see everything and start asking questions. So pretty lower rank in this book. But that's all information I have. So since you guys know what I'm doing, let's uncheck that setting, the hiding Let's not hide it. And there you go. So see, there's 5 FBA, but there's only one offer there listed. So let's click on the 5 FBA. The lowest FBA is $19.96, and it goes up. And then there's $20.50. So these guys are playing ball with each other, you know, between $19 and $20 or so. Let's say I paid $2.50 for this book. Shipping cost is 65 cents, which I know is a little more than it usually is. So if I sold this book for $19.96, I'd wind up making a little over $11. Not too bad for a book when I bought it for $2.50. But yeah, so that's another book to show you guys. Pretty cool stuff. Let's look at Camel, Camel, Camel. See how that looks. So here we go. Let me jump into 1 month. So 1 month, remember the spikes are pretty much a sale. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 in 1 month. That's good. Let's do 3 months. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So maybe 9 or 10 in 3 months. So that's kind of how I determine it. Now I can kind of set my price and kind of get an idea on how, and all you're doing here is you're assuming when this will sell. You have no idea when it's going to sell. And again, the sales rank is a whole nother tricky topic to get into. My business model mainly deals with under 2 million just because I find more success that way. It doesn't mean I wouldn't pick up a 5 million rank book. I would if the profit is good. So if there's a 5 million rank book and the profit when it does eventually sell is $30 or more, I'd probably buy it and put it on Amazon, just kind of wait. So that's that. And here's another book. I used this book in another video because I just had it here. Here we go. Live mode kicking in. Ooh, a lot of red here. So what this means here, let me jump into here. So what this means here is it's a reject because the second FBA is under $12.24, the second used is under $2, and the second new is under $5.99. So a reject across the board here. Now, some people might look at this and say, okay, it's a reject, let's move on. But some people might even say, it's a reject, I'll buy it anyway because there may be some room for it. Let's look at the Camel, Camel, Camel. Camel, Camel, Camel is a great way to kind of get an idea, like I said before, on how often this thing sells. So let's change it to 1 month. See, maybe it has 1, 2, maybe 2 sales. And here you got all those steps going down. That's not good. You want steps going up, basically. I see maybe 1, 2, 3. You can see there's a couple here. These are little tiny movements, not too much. But not a really exciting book, as you can see. So I guess that's one reason why it went to reject. Now, again, I'm going to stress this for you guys, is this app, these triggers are not perfect. The apps themselves are not perfect. The best way to really get an idea of what's going on is from experience, to play around with the app yourself. You can adjust these triggers any way you want. These are just the triggers that I use to help me kind of determine and get an idea of where I want to go. Some of the bigger sellers don't use triggers at all. They use this app but don't use triggers at all, which is fine. And I use these triggers mainly to kind of quickly make a decision. But I don't use these to 100%. I don't sit here and look for the greens and the reds and make a decision. You know, even if I see a buy or reject when I'm scanning, I'll still look because I know what I'm reading. I know from experience kind of what to look for. Because again, sometimes it's not perfect. But if you have like a college student or a single parent that you can hire, you know, doing this, you know, maybe give them $2.50 a book, depending on how much they're paying for the book. Give them the app, set it up, sign up for them, and go ahead and set them up with it. And say you'll pay them $2.50 a book once they get it, and they'll make some sort of money. So, for example, the reason why I'm $2.50, I'm giving people $2.50 is, most of them go to Goodwills, or I tell them to go to Goodwills, and the paperbacks are $1, so they'll wind up making $1.50 per book. The hardcovers are $2, so they'll wind up making 50 cents a book. So if I said $2 a book, they wouldn't make any money off hardcovers. So I kind of give them, you know, the $2.50 just so they have a little bit of room to make some money. So there's some sort of motivation. But depending on where you live, you may live in a place where there's similar places like Goodwills that maybe all books are $1. So you can probably say, I'll give you $2 for a book. So it really depends on where you are. But yeah, I really hope this helps. Definitely check out asellertool.com. I'm not affiliated with them at all. I just use their app as a customer. But you need to check out their subscription plans to kind of find the best one that suits you. Again, the light version is what I have my sellers use and what I would recommend you guys using when you first start off. Unless you're noticing yourself and your seller is kind of getting stuck because of the data connection, the signal is very poor, you then can upgrade to the other versions which allow you to download the database, which I showed you guys at the beginning of the movie or the video. So that's pretty much it. I mean, there may be a few other things here in the settings, but a lot of it is self-explanatory. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. So there you go. Not too bad, right? So there's the app for you. I hope that really helped and clear things up for you. If you have any questions or comments about what I said or about the app, maybe I missed something, go ahead and add it in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But that's kind of the app. You know, again, there are some bells and whistles. There are some, you know, general features that app and other apps have, but there are some other features that this app has that others don't, specifically the database mode. That's a huge plus, especially for people going into areas like book sales and libraries where, you know, the signal for your phone isn't great, so every time you scan a book it takes forever to actually get the information you need. So that database mode is perfect. The hidden feature mode is really cool, so you can give this app to your other people that are helping you scout for books, and you may or may not want them to see how much money or profit the book can get or book can have, so you can hide that feature from them so they don't see that, which is great. But I'll go into that topic later on in another video, like the steps that I use to hire people, what I tell them, what I don't tell them, things like that. But I really hope you enjoy the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you really enjoy this and you want to learn more. And again, I'll be putting out videos every now and then about different features, different tools, you know, different processes that I use. So thank you so much for watching and have a great day.